Europe has seen a huge rise in refugees and sometimes economic migration. Sometimes it's a bit of both. It's always not particularly clear. And countries have had to start grappling, including actually America as well. Countries have had to start grappling with this question of how do we treat migrants sort of en masse. One could even argue, is it en masse relative to the size of the population of each country? Do you think there's a Jewish view on this, in that, should we be treating migrants or refugees as the equivalent of the biblical stranger, where it says to love thy stranger? And should all sort of migrants be justified in receiving a path to full citizenship, for example? And, especially in the context of our own history, where we've needed to constantly be on the move, we should be able to understand this more than anyone else. But there appears to be a bit of a debate within the Jewish world. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, the debate's not in the Jewish world, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
I think everyone has a sense that if you took one individual somewhere in the world and they had to flee where they are because their life is in danger and they come to you, it would be the right thing to let them in. We were saved, many Jews were saved in World War II because people let them in, illegally and often at great personal risk. At the same time, the effects of, let's take another extreme, an entire country were to get up and all walk across into another one, that would probably be an unsustainable situation. So as Jews, yes, we've had this issue. There were even situations where Jewish communities after expulsion from Spain migrated to Polish communities, for example, and there were struggles over how many migrants can we take in, what happens, when does the resources get stretched, when does the local governorship start to say, one sec, this is too much, and how will this affect our
because then the locals suffer.
Correct. Well, there's all sorts of difficult situations. I think the comparison to the strange in the Torah is not the right one because the moral issues aren't the same. The sense of somebody who's vulnerable, you want to feel their pain and care about them, yes. But I don't think in Torah we ever dealt with the question of a mass migration of population, except perhaps for Israel itself entering the land of Israel. I don't think we see how the Torah tells us to deal with that per se. So I think there's certain principles.
So what does it mean, love the stranger?
Love the stranger means if a stranger does turn up, then you've got to love them. What happens if 1 million strangers turn up? I don't think the Torah has given us an answer directly to that question. It's given us, and like many issues in Torah, it gives us a lot of principles that we can work with and use, but it doesn't, how we apply them in practice will vary with the complexities of the specific situation. So now that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be pro-immigrant or pro lots of immigration or opening the borders wider, or perhaps not. I think as Jewish community we get very nervous if we sense that what really is going on is xenophobia and racism. That's what sort of gets our alarm bells up a little bit, because we know that we're also strangers. We're only a few generation immigrants in any place we've been, and when people start to get that way, then the intolerance can come with it. That doesn't mean that the answer is to tell every society that's it. You just have to let in everybody who wants to come in. Nowadays, you have a lot of economic migrants, and those create complex problems for societies. Societies struggle to stay cohesive, and increasingly in a multicultural world, immigrant communities, ourselves sometimes included, don't always integrate to the level that makes the host society feel comfortable. And so these create complexities. I don't think there's simple solutions as, oh, love everybody, that means open doors so wide that there's no borders anymore. So that's why, again, I think when people try to align simple phrases in Torah to immediately give a one-size-fits-all solution to every situation going on all over the place, I just think that's not correct.
Right. But you think there are basic values?
There's certainly values. There's certainly values. Yes. Certainly values can guide the conversation. But I think those are values. The funny thing is, that's sort of something which the Western world has kind of coalesced around. It's funny when people fiercely debate these issues, and you sit them down, they actually agree on an enormous amount.
Yeah.
There's huge. A lot often it's because it's linked to political parties.
Yes.
And once it's linked to political parties, there's such distrust. It must be the other side's actually more extreme. They say.
And a lot of it is a reaction to the Holocaust in '70. I think. And
it could be, but if you take most people agree about immigration, that if somebody's literally an asylum seeker because their life is in danger and they're genuine and they really have nowhere to go, of course you should take them in, look after them, welcome them. If you're talking about very small numbers, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. Now, once upon a time people would. I think most human beings today would be quite comfortable with that. Most people also would say that if it's just a matter of lots and lots of people coming in for convenience and the impact on the local it is mass loss of jobs and so forth, that would not be good. Now, most situations are not as extreme as either of those, and your dilemmas lie somewhere in between.
Yeah, yeah.
To stay up to date with JTV content, click subscribe here if you're on YouTube and hit the alarm bell. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, and under following, click see first. If you enjoy watching JTV content and want to help us continue to grow, please consider making a donation to us by clicking here.